morning students, welcome back to science class of 7th. Children, in our previous video we were studying chapter number 13, that is motion and time. Okay, in our previous video we studied the different types of motion, okay, then the measurement of time, about the distance and its relation. Okay, now children, today we will proceed further to the next topic, that is time. As the name of the chapter is motion and time, so what is time? Time यानी कि हिंदी में we will say it समय. It is the moment or duration in which things occur. Anything or any event that happens during that particular duration, that is called as time. Children, you know time is very valuable. If we want to reach that school, we should reach at time. If we want to catch an aeroplane, if you want to catch a flight, if you want to catch a train, or for anything, we need time. Time is very important to carry out daily life activities. Okay, and how do we calculate the time? Yes, we calculate the time with the help of wall clock and wristwatches. Okay, everybody likes to wear wristwatches, and wristwatch is very handy, so we can see the time. Okay, and we can know the value of time. Okay children, now measurement of time. So nowadays we are measuring the time with the help of wall clock, watches, mobile, etc. But during the ancient time, what happened in the ancient time? Yes, in ancient time there was no wall clock, nothing. So how people used to calculate the time? Yes, they used to calculate the time with the help of some natural events like full moon and sunrise, which occurred at regular interval of time. Okay, full moon yani ki Purnima. Okay, and sunrise, we know that when sun rises in the morning. So in ancient time, people used to measure time with the help of these events. कुछ ऐसी घटनाएं होती थी that occurred at regular intervals of time. The first one is the time from one full moon to the next full moon was called a month. एक full moon से दूसरे full moon तक जो duration होता था उसको 1 month count किया जाता था, right? Then the time from one sunrise to the next sunrise was called a day. और one sunrise से लेके next sunrise तक का जो time duration होता था, that was called a day. So in previous time people used to measure or calculate the time with the help of moon and sunrise. Okay, now some of the important time measuring devices used in ancient times were sand clock, water clock and sundial. Okay, now we will study about this clock in detail one by one. Sundial is one of the earliest devices for measuring the time. So what happens in this sundial? We know that sun rises in the east and apparently it sets in the west. Okay, so what happens in this? A triangular blade is made in such a way that when the rays of the sun fall on this blade, it casts a shadow and forms the time. Means hourglass is there, okay, and a triangular blade is there, and when the sun rays are fall on it, it casts a shadow, और जहाँ वो shadow का formation बनाता है तो उस हिसाब से time हम calculate करते हैं. We calculate the time according to that. Okay. In ancient time, there were lot of you can say sundials were made. For example, Jantar Mantar in Delhi and in Rajasthan. In this, what happened? Huge walls were constructed, and the triangular blade was connected to it so that people can know about the time. Okay. Then the second one is sand clock. It is also known as sand glass or hourglass because it tells the hour measurement of time. घंटे का समय बताता है. Okay. What happens in this? It uses the flow of sand to measure the time. As you have seen the sand clock or sand glass or hourglass, आपने देखा होगा. It is made up of two hollow glass bulb and it is connected with a narrow tube. Okay, and what happens in this? The sand is lot of amount of sand is filled in the upper end and so that the sand flows into the lower end slowly within an hour. The sand from the upper section reaches to the lower section and 1 hour time duration is completed. जो sand होता है वो at once it does not fall down into the lower end because it is connected with a very narrow tube. Okay, so in this way time was calculated and it takes 1 hour to flow the sand from upper end to the lower end. So that's why it is called as hourglass also, and it is also an ancient measuring time device, right? Okay, then the third one is water clock. Okay, a water clock is also an ancient time measuring device. It uses the rate at which water drips from one vessel to another to measure time intervals. In water clock, what happens? From the upper vessel, water drop by drop and fills the lower vessel, and it completes in a regular time of interval. Okay, so these are 3 clocks that people used in ancient times to calculate the time. But there was one disadvantage of these clocks was that sundial, sand clock and water clock cannot calculate the smaller you can say time interval like hours, like minutes and seconds. They used to calculate only the hour time. Okay, so now there are modern watches which can calculate the time up to millionth second also. Okay children, so that's about the ancient time calculating devices. Now we will study units of time. Children, as you all know, the standard unit of time is second, or we can say the basic standard unit of time is second. Okay, the symbol is S, जिसे हम small s में denote करते हैं, small s, and the larger units are minutes and hours. Okay, the units of hour, minute and second are interrelated to each other as follows. तीनों कैसे लिंक है? We know 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds, 24 hours make a day, 24 घंटे, 30 days make a 1 month, then 12 months make a year, then 10 years is equal to 1 decade. Okay, decade means a period of 10 years. Now 100 years make a century, यानी कि शताब्दी. Okay, and 1000 years, that is called 1 millennium or millenary. You know children, millennium in Hindi is Sahasra Satabdi. Okay, century means Shatabdi and this is Sahasra Satabdi, means a period of 1000 years. Different units of time are used depending on the purpose for what we are using. For example, for calculating the age we use years. Okay, for calculating the distance between the school and from our home we use minutes. Okay, in the same way, for calculating very small units of time like microsecond and nanosecond, we know that there are 2 small units of time. 1 microsecond is equal to 1 millionth of second. Okay, and 1 nanosecond is equal to 1 billionth of second. Okay, modern units of measuring time. Okay, in modern time we calculate time or measure time with the help of clocks and watches. Okay, now a motion which repeats after regular interval of time is called as periodic motion. Such a type of motion which repeats itself after a regular interval of time, that is called periodic motion. For example, there are a lot of periods in our school that happens for a regular period of time. Suppose one period occurs for a duration of 40 minutes. After that, second period, third period and fourth period and so on. So the period which you can say repeats after regular interval of time, that type of motion is called as periodic motion. Okay, the principle of periodic motion is used for the measurement of time, and for the measurement of time we use the principle of periodic motion. We know that after 1 hour means 60 minutes, when it will be completed it will be 1 hour. After 1 hour, again 1 hour, again 60 minutes. So like this the process will go on, the interval of time will go on. So the principle is used for the measurement of time in modern times. Okay. Clocks and watches are based on the periodic motion. These watches and clocks that we are using in our home, all these are based on the principle of periodic motion. Okay. So in this periodic motion we will study about the simple pendulum. Simple pendulum is also based on the periodic motion. So let's see what is simple pendulum and the working of the simple pendulum, right? Okay. Simple pendulum. What is simple pendulum? As you can see in the figure, there is one rigid support is there, and then a long thread, a strong long thread is there, and to which a bob, that is metal ball, is suspended. Okay. A simple pendulum consists of a small metal bob suspended by a long thread from a rigid support such that the bob is free to swing back and forth. For example, कि जैसे मैंने कोई धागे से एक बॉल कनेक्ट किया है, okay, and when I will release it one side, it will move in this direction. जैसे कि आपने क्लॉक का पेंडुलम देखा है, after some time means it is fixed, but when 1 hour completes, it start moving back and forth, आगे पीछे होने लगता है. Okay, how much time it will cover forth आगे की ओर, the same time it will take to cover the back distance also. So such type of motion is called as periodic motion. So let us see about the working of the simple pendulum. Okay. So what happens, as you can see in the figure, it is a simple bob. Okay. It is its mean position. Okay. Mean position यानी कि center का position है. Then these are the extreme position up to which it can move. Okay. I will show you with an example. Okay. Okay children, right now I am not having a simple pendulum, but I can show you through an example that how the simple pendulum works. Suppose this is a thread, okay, and my hand is the rigid support, right, and this is the metal bob, okay. And so what happens during the periodic motion, when I will release the ball, okay, when I will release the ball, it will move like this, back, forth, back, forth. So this type of motion is called as periodic motion. Okay. So here you can see in the figure that when ball is suspended and released from one side, जैसे ही मैंने इसको release किया, suppose I release this, it started moving. Okay. So it reached from A to B, then B to A again, then A to C and C to A again. So that type of motion is called as periodic motion. जो center का position होता है, where it is stationary, it is called as mean position, and the point at which it moves, it's called as extreme position. Okay. So the to and fro motion of a pendulum is an example of periodic motion, and there are some terms that are related to the simple pendulum. For example, length of the pendulum. What is the length of the pendulum? Okay, the length of the pendulum is very important. So what happens, जब हम pendulum की length को जितना ज़्यादा बढ़ाएंगे, the time period will also increase. The shorter the length of the thread or length of the pendulum, the less time it will take. जितना ज़्यादा length होगा pendulum का, उतने ही ज़्यादा time ये लेगा. Then the second is oscillation. What do you mean by oscillation? One complete to and fro motion of the pendulum is called as oscillation. एक complete oscillation, A से B, B से A, then A से C, C से A, यहाँ से यहाँ तक का जो distance होता है, that is one complete oscillation. Okay. Then the third one is time period. What is time period? Time period is the time taken to complete one oscillation. एक oscillation को complete करने के लिए जितना time लग रहा है, that time is called as time period, right? The last one is amplitude. What is amplitude? Amplitude is the maximum displacement of the bob from its mean position to the extreme position. तो जो बॉब का डिस्प्लेसमेंट हो रहा है अपनी मीन पोजीशन से एक्सट्रीम पोजीशन पे, वो आपका क्या होता है? एम्पलीट्यूड. For example, AB will be equal to AC. It is its mean position and it is its extreme position. One middle mean position से वो अपने side के extreme कहाँ तक पहुँच सकता है, that is called as amplitude. So AB here is equal to AC. Here AB is equal to AC, right? So these are some terms that are related to the simple pendulum. So simple pendulum is an example of periodic motion, right? Now the use of pendulum for measuring time, that is pendulum clock. We have seen lot of pendulum clocks everywhere. In our home also it is available. So as you can see in the figure, it is the clock and the upper side is clock and the lower side is pendulum. Okay, so what happens in a pendulum clock, the swinging pendulum regulates the time. तो pendulum clock में जो pendulum होता है वो swing करता है and it regulates the time. What happens, the lower end of the pendulum, when it is released, it moves one time back and one time forth, and in this way one complete oscillation takes place, and it takes equal time for every 1 hour to complete one oscillation. Okay, so we know that pendulum clocks are very heavy and bulky, so it cannot be carried everywhere. So nowadays we use spring wheel, then watches, clocks, etc., which are not very bulky and can be carried anywhere easily. Okay, now the latest trend is measurement of time, that's use of quartz crystals. So nowadays quartz clock and quartz watches are used, which give very accurate measurement of time. Quartz watches are of two types, digital and non-digital. Non-digital watch are just similar to like this watches. They have hours, minutes and second needles. Okay, and digital watches do not have hour, minute and second needles. They just display the time in digits. Okay, now everybody is wearing these digital watches. Okay, and there are some watches like atomic watches which calculate the time according to the atom. Okay, they give the perfect timing. Okay, and nowadays we know that this smallest unit of time is second, but with the help of sports watches we can calculate the time up to microsecond and nanosecond. We know that 1 nanosecond is equal to 1 billionth of a second. So children, this was about the chapter. In this chapter we have studied about the time, about the various types of motion, measurement of time, speed, distance, etc. And I hope that everybody have understood it well. Now I will be giving you homework, right? So today's homework is question number 1. How people used to measure time in olden days. Question number 2. Name some time measuring devices used in ancient times. Question number 3 is why sand clock is also known as hourglass. Question number 4 is name the standard unit of time. And question number 5 is explain periodic motion with an example. Okay children, so these are some question answers that you have to note down in your homework copy in a neat and clean handwriting. Children, our chapter is finished. Okay, and I hope whatever I have delivered to you, it have reached to you properly, and I hope that you have understood it well. Okay children, so please go through the chapter, underline the important points, learn all the key terms of the chapter to get the concept more clear, right? Okay, so in my upcoming video children, I will be discussing the exercises and question answer of the chapter. Okay, so that's all for today. Take care of yourself students. Thank you.